Okay, guys. So, as you guys saw, if you guys watched my Daredevil Born Again trailer reaction video, I was extremely hyped for the Daredevil.
Long before time had a name.
I was extremely hyped for the Daredevil Born Again TV show, and it was flipping incredible. I absolutely loved it. I think it is some of the most high quality stuff that Marvel has done in a minute. And me personally, I loved every single episode. So I am going to be going through my opinions on the show in this video. So let's go, guys. Yeah. I don't know what I'm doing. Also, I'm trying out new angles. So tell me what you guys think. But yeah, basically the Daredevil Born Again show. And I'm going to kind of recap the whole thing if you haven't seen it already, and then I'm going to get into like my favorite parts, and that will have spoilers in it. But the Daredevil Born Again TV show was basically just a season 4 to the original show. And me personally, I think that was my favorite part, because the Netflix Daredevil show was just, I'm trying to get this in the right spot. The Netflix Daredevil show was just such incredible, it was such an incredible show. And I was worried that they were going to, I don't know what I'm doing with my hands. I was worried that they were going to change it or make the Daredevil Born Again series different somehow from the original show. But when I saw the trailer, I was like, okay, wait, it's literally just going to be season 4. And that's basically what it was. They picked up right where they left off from season 3 and went into season 4, Daredevil Born Again season 1. The way they wrote all the characters was exactly the same as the previous series, but they also improved on it a lot, further deepening who those characters are, further making us fall in love with it even more, and I absolutely loved it. I think the way that they handled Daredevil was flipping incredible, because one of the main plots of the show is is Matt Murdock wrestling with his identity of Matt Murdock and his identity of Daredevil, and whether or not he should be basically either of them. And then Kingpin picking up where he left off in the Echo show, running for mayor, and all of this is in the trailer, so if it's included in the trailer, I will talk about it in the non-spoiler portion, just so you know. But yeah, Kingpin running for mayor and how that changes him, you know, how he's able to balance Wilson Fisk as the mayor and Wilson Fisk as Kingpin, and the dichotomy between Daredevil and Kingpin, and also their extreme similarities and the parallels that their characters have. And then how they bring back characters like Karen, like Punisher, like Foggy Nelson, like Bullseye, Vanessa, like BB Urich are the new characters that they bring in, like BB Urich and that one guy, can't remember his name. It was a fantastically well-written show, and I am really excited for season 2. I wish the original plan for the show was that they were going to have season 1 be 18 episodes and it was just going to be one thing, but now they're doing season 1 was 8 episodes and season 2 is going to be, season 1 was 9 episodes and season 2 is going to be another 9 episodes or something like that. They were originally going to be 18 episodes total, and the first season only had 9. So that was a little sad for me, just because we won't get to see how everything hashes out until next year. But it's fine, guys. Gives us something to look forward to. I also just think that, in general, this show really does have that MCU vibe, but the old MCU feeling, I guess. Like, it fits in the MCU. The Netflix Defenders shows didn't necessarily have that MCU feel to them, which was part of the reason why they originally were hated and then eventually became popular. But I think the Daredevil Born Again show is basically perfect with the vibe of the original Daredevil series and the original Defender shows in general, and also how it can fit and commingle, I guess, with the MCU and the plot that they're already doing. And it was just a very enjoyable show to watch. I loved what they did with all the characters, and I would highly recommend it. Now, I'm just gonna give my straight review, so there's spoilers now. Basically, throughout the show, we see Daredevil struggle with the fact that, again, spoilers, throughout the show we see that Daredevil is struggling with being Daredevil, that Matt Murdock is struggling with being Daredevil, because last time he was Daredevil, Foggy Nelson had died, and so he puts down the mantle of Daredevil because he doesn't want to do it anymore, because he thinks that it is one of the reasons his friend died in the first place, and just wrestling with the fact that his identity that was the Daredevil persona for so long, he's no longer able to be because he is strictly Matt Murdock, and he's doing strictly lawyer stuff and all that kind of stuff. That kind of explains why he was doing lawyer work in No Way Home. Also, this happens, I think, 2 or 3 years after She-Hulk and Echo, which Daredevil did make appearances in. And they also loosely connect Daredevil to Miss Marvel, because Matt Murdock and Miss Marvel's dad have an episode or two together, which is pretty cool to see that kind of connections there. And then I really liked the fight scenes that they did between Daredevil and Muse, and Daredevil and Punisher, Daredevil and Bullseye. I don't think they actually did that. I'm trying to remember. No, in the first episode, the battle between Daredevil and Bullseye was absolutely incredible. And just watching Daredevil's character progress throughout the show, from strictly Matt Murdock to then turning into Daredevil again once White Tiger had died, I thought that was beautiful. I thought a lot of the CGI and special effects and things that they did for the Daredevil character, with him swinging through the city and the way he was maneuvering over rooftops and things like that, I really enjoyed. And I definitely think that the suit looked really good. And then just the way all of the characters commingled was flipping incredible. Like the way Daredevil and Kingpin, or the way that Matt Murdock and Kingpin both knew each other's other side. Matt Murdock knew who Wilson Fisk was, Matt Murdock knew who Kingpin was, Wilson Fisk knew who Daredevil was and who Matt Murdock was, and just them knowing each other so well when nobody else in the show basically does, and knowing both of their true heart posture on a lot of things, and just the way Daredevil or Matt Murdock knowing that Wilson Fisk is Kingpin no matter what, and Wilson Fisk also knowing that Matt Murdock is Daredevil no matter what, was just a very cool thing to see. And also seeing Kingpin interact with the rest of the mayor's office, and just being able to watch as Wilson Fisk slowly turns back into Kingpin throughout the whole show, struggling with the fact that Vanessa had cheated on him, and the main reflection of the Kingpin that we saw in the original 3 seasons was shown basically strictly by the way he was treating the man that Vanessa cheated with for the majority of the show. And then once he killed him, or once Vanessa killed him actually, then they were fine again, and they were doing their lovey-dovey Vanessa Kingpin thing, and it was great. I think my favorite part of the show personally was the way that they handled Muse and the way that they handled Punisher. Muse was an unexpected treat. I really liked what they did with Muse. The actor they chose was the bad guy from Wednesday, and I really liked the bad guy from Wednesday. I'll put a photo of him right here, but he's an incredible actor. He did really good as Muse. I really like the way he handled the character, and I think the way that they wrote Muse in the show as one of those villains that just appears as a challenge for the hero, brings what Muse did was bring Daredevil back out of the shadows. Muse wasn't a main villain at all. He can't be a main villain. He's not that kind of villain. But they used Muse in such an incredible way with just how they brought Matt Murdock back out as Daredevil using Muse, and then once Daredevil was already reactivated in Matt Murdock, Muse was killed. And then we got to focus on Matt Murdock versus Wilson Fisk and Daredevil versus Kingpin. I also really liked the Punisher in the show. He and Daredevil were like such homies. There were such homie moments in the show with just banter back and forth. John Berthel coming back as Punisher was probably one of the highlights of the show. It was just such an incredible thing to see him back as the character after he literally did perfect as the character in the Punisher show and in the Daredevil show. John Berthel is just built for the character. He has a very deep understanding of the character that I think we all appreciate. And I also liked how Karen came back and her relationship with Matt Murdock and her relationship with Frank Castle. That just love triangle that's being established there. I'm excited to see what they do with Daredevil's girlfriend that's a therapist, because she was used to reveal the secret identity of Muse. And Kingpin also has her in kind of a chokehold a little bit, making her the mental health official of the mayor's office. Like, Kingpin knows that Matt Murdock is dating her, and also knows that Matt Murdock is Daredevil. So Kingpin has perfectly set himself up in a way where he is extremely close with Matt Murdock's significant other, therefore Daredevil's significant other. And I'm very excited and looking forward to how they handle that in the next season. I also think that I really liked that guy. I can't remember his name. I'll put a photo of his name up here. But I liked his character, surprisingly. At first, I didn't like him. I thought he was really annoying. I thought he was just rude, and he got on my nerves a little bit. But as they grew the character a little bit, I started to like him more because he was climbing the ranks and becoming more and more loyal to Kingpin, which was cool to see because it kind of solidifies Kingpin's whole thing with him just being a ruler and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And I especially liked that his relationship with BB Urich was so cool because, as we know, Ben Urich was the reporter that trained Karen Page in the original show. And then taking BB Urich and including her and then giving her such a prominent role was really nice because they didn't even focus on BB Urich. She was just there the whole time. There would be little snippets of her basically YouTube channel. It was her blog, but it was a YouTube channel where like she would go and interview New Yorkers, and those little snippets would be basically transitions between the scenes. But I really liked it. It gave a lot of a grounded feel to the show, made it feel a lot more personal, made it very clear that it reflected the feelings that both Matt Murdock and Wilson Fisk have for the city, that it is their city, and their love for the city and the people in the city. Focusing on the people in the city in that way, I thought was really creative and very cool. And BB Urich, and I'm gonna just look up his name. I think my keyboard died. Did it die? Or did I turn it off on accident? Oh, I just turned it off. My bad. Daniel Blake was the name I was looking for. I liked BB Urich and Daniel Blake's dynamic. How one of them was so focused on the truth and the other one was so focused on Wilson Fisk's version of the truth. And they both were loyal and believed their own version of what was happening. I also really liked the chief, and her name was Shayla Rivera. She was the mayor's super secretary, basically. I liked her because originally she was trying to keep Wilson Fisk above water a little bit, making sure that he was doing the right thing and not just coming and corrupting. And then through the show, she actually became corrupted, which I really liked. I liked the way that they showed Wilson Fisk as mayor, and then it slowly turning into Mayor Kingpin, and just everybody becoming corrupted and loyal to him out of a sense of fear. And I was kind of nervous about Vanessa and Kingpin because their story is literally just like a super love story, you know? They are extremely loyal to each other, themselves, and the craft of just being evil. And when she cheated on him and they were having marital issues, I was like, bruh. But when they came back through and she actually ended up killing the guy she cheated with and just them becoming in love again, I really liked because that's the Vanessa and Kingpin that we know and that we love. That was the Vanessa and Kingpin that we enjoyed from the previous seasons. And with Kingpin, I've heard a lot of people say that Vincent D'Onofrio's portrayal of the Kingpin has gotten old and repetitive. And while I agree to the sense that the character hasn't had a lot of character development, Vincent D'Onofrio's actual performance has increased and evolved from the original show. He did a lot more facial expressions in this show that weren't so verbal, that you could see what he was thinking. You could tell that the cogs were moving in his head. He was doing a lot more facial expressions that were very subtext. You, as the watcher, were digesting his facial expressions and figuring out what they meant, less than him narrating it for you and telling you what he was thinking, like he did in the original 3 seasons. So while Vincent D'Onofrio is playing the same character, and Kingpin is he's a one-dimensional character that has a lot of layers. Kingpin's not a character that has a starting point and an ending point. When we get Kingpin, he's already Kingpin. There's not much else you can do with the character because he's reached his final form, but the actual performance has evolved from season 1 of the Daredevil show on Netflix to season 1 of Daredevil Born Again, and I really liked what he was doing. I definitely think that he was giving it his all. He was 100% locked in on his performance. The main thing at the show, the end of the show, which I'm excited for, and me and my brother have been talking about a lot, is that the entire city goes into blackout, curfew. All of the vigilantes are illegal, basically, and I am excited to see how that translates to Spider-Man Brand New Day and also Season 2, because me and my brother's theory is basically we see the black and red costume in the trailer and also in the show with the helmet. That is canonically from the Shadowland comics, and I think the way that they are setting everything up with the characters that they have in the MCU roster right now, they could do a pretty solid Shadowland portrayal, whether that would be a TV show, whether that would be what Season 2 of Daredevil is, or whether that is just something that they don't really touch at all or something they touch in Secret Wars, I don't know. But I think it'd be really cool to see some kind of Shadowland-esque thing happen in the MCU. And then I'll just read a little bit for y'all. Shadowland is a 2010 comic book storyline. It has all the street level superheroes in the Marvel Universe, most of them. The storyline started in the Daredevil comic and was expanded upon in the Shadowland 5-issue miniseries. So they could do that thing where they started in Season 2 of Daredevil and then they move it further into its own kind of thing. The story is about Daredevil's return to Hell's Kitchen after he becomes the leader of the Hand, and he builds a temple/prison in Hell's Kitchen. His methods get more extreme as he kills alongside his adversary Bullseye. The change in attitude brings him and his ally White Tiger into conflict with a number of street-level superheroes such as Spider-Man, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Moon Knight, and more. So, speaking of White Tiger, they talk about White Tiger, the dad, dies, right? And then White Tiger, the daughter, is set up to kind of be her own vigilante and take up the mantle. And that, I really liked the way they set up White Tiger and did that kind of side plot origin story, similar to what they did with Spider-Man in Civil War, where they introduced him, but they never really gave him the origin story, and then he became a more prominent character as the MCU progressed. And I liked that about their introduction with White Tiger. So I think they could do a solid Shadowland thing. Again, the heroes later realize that Daredevil has become possessed by the Beast of the Hand, which explains why Daredevil's actions have become more and more extreme and erratic. The heroes are helped out by Kingpin and Lady Bullseye as they try to preserve the Kingpin's criminal empire. In the final moments of the story, Iron Fist uses his mythical chi to heal Daredevil, releasing the demon inside him. In the act of sacrifice, Daredevil kills himself before the Beast can take control of him again, breaking the spell that the Beast had on Hell's Kitchen. Afterwards, his corpse disappears, apparently to be revived by Elektra at the conclusion of the event. So again, you got characters, and here we got the mayor is J. Jonah Jameson with Ben Urich and Danny Deaver. These characters, they could do BB Urich instead of Ben Urich. Silver Sable, Misty Knight, Paladin. So again, like Moon Knight right there. He's a character that we haven't seen anything since the Moon Knight show. He would do great in Shadowland. Shadow Knight. Instead of Shadow Knight, they can use Swordsman because they introduced Swordsman in the show. In Hawkeye, they introduced Swordsman. And Swordsman was again in this show, which I thought was really cool. Misty Knight has already been in the Luke Cage show previously. Foggy Nelson comes back in this series as well. So this would be a really good place for them to take the Defenders and the street level heroes and that whole thing. And also, another thing is Mr. Negative has been announced to be the main villain of Spider-Man Brave New World, as far as I have heard. Let me double check that. In the Spider-Man Brand New Day storyline, the primary villain is Mr. Negative, a crime boss associated with the Snakeheads, while Lily Hollister, also known as Menace, initially appears to be a significant threat, especially during the assassination arc. Her motivations are blah. Mr. Negative is a powerful villain who is the leader of the Snakeheads and a crime boss, and he operates under a facade of philanthropy, running a shelter for homeless. So the main villain is reportedly supposed to be Mr. Negative, and then Menace should also be involved a little bit. And Menace, for those of you that don't know, and for Mr. Negative, he's the main, if you're a Marvel fan, you know who Mr. Negative is. Menace, I'm confused on who Menace is. Menace looks like she has a few aliases. She's been Queen Cat, And she also looks like she had been a Green Goblin. So she had also been a Green Goblin-esque character. So that might be what they're doing, is they're having Menace be the Green Goblin for Tom Holland's Spider-Man, now that he's had like Norman Osborn Green Goblin. That would be interesting. But with the curfew, here's my personal theory. With the curfew of everybody needs to be in at 8 o'clock that they established in Daredevil Born Again, I think that would be a really good opportunity for Mr. Negative to start his criminal empire, moving everything that he was doing after 8 o'clock, and then Spider-Man doing all of his stuff after that 8 o'clock curfew. And then Spider-Man could also bring in Daredevil and Kingpin and all those characters as well, because of the significance that that curfew has connected to the Daredevil show. Because I feel like after playing the Spider-Man PS4 game, most of the stuff that happened when Mr. Negative was moving everything around was in fact at night. And I feel like after the curfew being at 8, that would be a really good segue for them to be able to do something with Mr. Negative and Spider-Man. And with Spider-Man, Peter Parker is unknown, right? Nobody knows who Peter Parker is. So, oh wow, voice crack. So, Peter Parker is able to strictly be Spider-Man, and now vigilantes are legal. So, Spider-Man is illegal. So they could use that in the plot for Spider-Man Brand New Day as well. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Daredevil Born Again. Again, great show. I'd say like 9 out of 10 or even 10 out of 10, to be honest. It's probably my favorite, or at least one of my favorite Marvel shows in general. I think it is a must-watch. It is fantastic.
Say that again?
It's fantastic.
Yes, it is.
That it is so connected to the original 3 seasons of the Netflix Daredevil show, and also the fact that you can watch it standalone if you just like the Daredevil stuff. You can watch it without having to know anything about the MCU, which is also really nice because it's able to be a standalone thing. Because a lot of the newer stuff has not been able to be its own standalone thing, but some of the charm of all of the old MCU movies, or old, I mean like Infinity Saga and backwards, so from, I'd say, Shang-Chi back, you were able to watch a Marvel movie without technically having to watch the rest. But now they're all building on themselves. They're not able to be really standalone. They're all just focused on pushing to the next thing recently, so they're not really standalone movies anymore. It's like, what's going on? They don't explain it. It's not enjoyable as its own standalone thing. But Daredevil Born Again is intended to be its own standalone thing that they can choose to build on later, like they did with Moon Knight, which is part of the reason I loved Moon Knight so much, like they did with Werewolf by Night, which again, Werewolf by Night is an incredible thing, and those kinds of things. Those more low to the ground, not necessarily humongous scale, street level kind of projects. But yeah, thank you for choosing to watch this video. Please like and subscribe if you aren't already. Go ahead and hit that notification bell if you're so kind, so you know when I am super cool and I post a video. Thank you to Off-Brand Andrew for being a member of my YouTube channel. Have an amazing rest of your day or night, depending on when you're watching this. I love every single one of you guys individually and as a team. Peace out.